All right, you guys, today on Boss Bitch Radio, we have a great guest today, Miss Lawna Dunbar. She is an IFBB Bikini Pro. I fell in love with Lawna last year when I was embarking on the potential journey to switch from Figure Pro to Bikini Pro. And binge watched all of her YouTube videos. She's the sweetest thing, adorable, beautiful woman, gorgeous stage presence, phenomenal poser. And I wanted to bring her on just to learn a little bit more about her and her journey into bodybuilding, which we talked about today in the episode. We also talked about some of her money-saving tips and hacks for competing. She competed 14 times last year, one of which was the Mr. Olympia. And she worked really, really hard to get on stage for that. So that was super fun to watch that journey. And then we also talked about body dysmorphia, being in show and being stage lean, and also coming out of show and what that looks like and the reality between the two physiques. So hopefully this episode helps you out in your contest prep journey, or those that are curious. And let me know what you think over on Instagram. Boss Bitch. Thank you so much for coming on board. I'm very excited.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I coach athletes. And so a lot of them,
me too.
They're very excited because they love Lawna Dunbar. And so they're very stoked that I'm going to have you on. I've been a total fangirl. I found you on YouTube, I don't know, probably last year sometime, and started watching all your YouTubes. That was super fun. And I actually had somebody left a question in the question box and asking when you're going to bring more YouTubes back. I'm like, I'm going to ask her. I'll ask her.
I know. I'm so bad. Totally. Yeah. I'll answer that question for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot to
I know.
do.
Yeah.
How did you get to competing? What got you interested in competing to begin with? What was your journey like for that?
So I believe it was back in 2013. I was 21 years old, and I just graduated from my junior college, and I transferred to my 4-year, and I had done track and field, and I had done volleyball at my junior college, and to move out of the house and spread my wings. So I was like, okay, I'm going to 4-year. I'm not going to play sports anymore. I'm going to get a job and I'm going to move out. And I actually got a job at a gym. And that's kind of where my weightlifting journey began. Okay. So I started working at a gym at 21 years old and was no longer playing sports and needed an outlet. So I started lifting weights. And my dad showed me a YouTube video of the beginning of Bikini, the category, and was like, wow, look at all these girls. They show off their muscles on stage. And I was like, okay, I think I could do that. That seems like the next fun challenge. And so I basically found a local trainer and started working with them and had my first local show at 21.
Okay. How was that experience for you? Because this was a new thing and you weren't really, because a lot of girls, I feel like when they are curious, they just start following all the Instagram accounts and they start, going down the YouTube rabbit hole. And did you have any exposure other than what your dad showed you, really?
So this was the beginning of Instagram, believe it or not. So there were not many people forging the way. There were no plans out on the internet from your favorite bikini girl. I couldn't just hire a posing coach. It wasn't a thing back then. So it was me learning on my own and only using my background knowledge of dance and being on the stage for that type of presence. And then only relying on what my trainer was showing me in the gym in order to build muscle. So it was a whole new world, but I became obsessed quickly because A, I like to push myself, and B, I like to do things that others are not doing or seems hard for them. So I feel like I thrived in that.
Yeah. Coming from, and I asked this of one of my other guests, coming from a sports background where when you're in sports, there are objective winners, right? Like first place, second, it's very clear. And you go into a subjective sport, which is very different. And I actually coach some athletes too. And I'm trying to tell them like, this is very different. It's very different. Did you have a hard time adjusting to that?
I will say, because I was 21 and I did really well at that age, I unfortunately didn't have to face any of those things because I just did well. And I was like fortunate. I, had good muscles and just went to good shows and just was thriving. But I didn't really, okay, that's a lie. I did face it and it did discourage me a little bit because at my first ever national show, I got dead last call outs after having done really well and getting 2 overalls at the NPC level. Yeah. And then I kind of shut it down and I was like, okay, let's focus on school and graduate and this and that. And then coming back as an older person, of course, I faced losses. I faced second call outs. I faced, but as an older person now, I'm grateful for every show I do, every learning opportunity, every feedback, everything. And I just come from a different mindset.
Definitely.
This time around.
Yeah. So nationals, I really try to drill that down in the podcast because we talk about a lot of competition stuff about how it is an entirely different beast.
For sure.
Right. And when you're competing, you're with the creme de la creme. It's like splitting hairs at that point.
Right.
You have people that come in and they're not conditioned and things like that, but that's less likely on a national stage. What was that like for you? Like your experience backstage and seeing like, wow, right? Because that's definitely a transition from regional shows.
Right. So I did one national when I was 22 and I don't even really count that. Coming back as, I say, an adult, I don't know, just an older person now. So the second national show I did with my coach, Paul Revelia, I was now 28 years old.
So you had quite time, yeah.
Significant amount of time passed. And I did that show with him. And everyone looks phenomenal. Everyone's stunning. They're gorgeous. They work years and years to get to a national show, to get to that national level. And in my call out, Tyler Mannion actually was like, this is hands down the best height category of the night. He basically said to all the top 8 that he called out, he said, all of you could have a pro card. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I think for me, knowing that at the national level gives me a little bit of peace. This might not be my national show, but I will have my day,
Yeah. Now, you had a significant amount of time off from that national show. Did you compete in between that at all? Or did you just take time and like just train, eat, and focus on other things?
Yeah, honestly, I just lived my life for like 6 years. I finished school, got my job, got married, a house, 2 dogs, all the life things. And it was after that first initial national show. And I was like, maybe I'm not cut out, like I felt those feels and I was like, let's focus on my career. And I was enjoying all those things and traveling, and kind of COVID's actually what brought my husband back, and we're like, let's see if we still have it, like, let's have fun, let's train. And so that's what brought us back. We were just living life. Yeah. But also lifting,
Yeah. It became a part of your lifestyle, right? So you didn't just stop and then just reemerge 6 years later and all the things. Right. Yeah.
Yes, we always trained.
So as a professional athlete now, and, throughout your journey, and I haven't mentioned this yet, but you made it to the Olympia, which I was like team Lawna 100%. I was so excited for you. I was like, oh my God, I was watching the whole thing go down. It's like, it's similar to like having your favorite sports team, and the favorite players. And I'm just like, oh, she's working so hard. And I had seen you, I believe it was at the Sacramento show in November. Maybe. I had an athlete competing and I saw you and you were with your family and everything. And I wanted to go get a picture and I'm like, she's having her moment. Yeah. But it was super awesome. But what does your, daily training look like in season. So now that you're,
Right.
when you're prepping for the Olympia and pro shows and things like that, what does that look like for you, or your daily routine, I guess?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my routine changed a little bit. So for 2 semesters, I was actually in a master's program, working full time and prepping for my pro shows.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the craziest my schedule has gotten, but it was just so regimented that it was don't think, do, don't think, do. So when I was doing that, and that was, I call it my spring season. So that was when I was doing all the shows in April and May, and up to June. And then I shut down my spring season. So that looked like me waking up at 4 a.m, training in the morning, going to work, coming home and going to night class and going to bed.
Okay.
And that's what I did. 4 nights a week, I had night class. So that got me through my spring season, I called it. And then we had a mini 8 to 9 week reverse in the summer. And then it came back for fall. And I was like, we're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I didn't have classes anymore. So that was really nice. And I would just go to work in the morning, come home after work and train and go to bed and stuff like that. But I am a teacher, so I am lucky in that I'm basically working 8 to 3. So it's not like the longest day ever. So that helps.
Do you find that when you're, at least in my experience, when I have more things, structured things, like I got to be this place, I feel like my preps are always better just because there's it's like, I don't want to say that the prep like flies, but there's no idle hands. I'm not meandering in the kitchen. I'm not waiting for my next meal. It's like, oh shoot, it's time to eat, right? Like you're hungry and you're dealing with all that clearly, but I find that I'm better when I'm busier.
Agreed with you. So this last semester when I didn't have class, I was like, okay, I'm going to go walk around the store, or I find I like to buy things a little bit more when I'm in prep because it's like, oh, what can I go do outside of the house so that I'm not just, twiddling my thumbs or whatever. But I totally agree with you. More is better during prep for me.
Yeah. It's weird how that works because it's, people are like, I'm too busy. I work. And I'm like, you'd be surprised if you can everybody's got to eat. So you're just you have to be prepared for that. But if you can get your training done in the morning, knocked out, and just stay within your meal plan or macros or whatever, it's not as hard as people think. And especially like you have a full load clearly to deal with schedule wise.
I also have noticed since being in improvements now, I am not falling asleep as soon as I normally would because I was pretty exhausted from my entire day. Yeah. So I would hit the bed and I would be asleep. Now I'm like, oh, I have so much energy calorically and physically. I'm like, I could just stay up and watch TV in bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's another thing to point out.
For sure. Now your training, did you train what did your training look like split wise, I guess? You probably change that based off of feedback going into each or coming out of each show, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
We did 5 lifting days and 2 rest days. I believe I did have my rest days back to back. I no longer do them back to back. I now do them like one in the middle of the week and one on the weekend. And then cardio sessions up to 6 days a week, not at all times. Sometimes in my spring season, I had a period of time where I did not do any cardio for like 2 weeks after one of my shows because I was just going through all my food. And then as it started to catch up, I was like, okay, we got to get more steps in. But so always 2 rest days from weights and at least 1 rest day from steps or cardio.
Okay, gotcha. And now is your training just primarily lower body at this point, or are you still working upper as well?
Yeah. So my split now going into improvements is 3 lower and 2 upper. And my upper body is a combination of just shoulders and back. Okay. No arms or chest for me. And then the lower body is glutes, and legs too. I am growing everything pretty much. Just trying to fill out that X frame.
For sure. In prep, is that pretty similar for you too? Kind of the same 4 lower 2 or 3 lower 2 upper?
Yeah, it was a little bit different. It was still 3 lower, but it was like It was just a different upper split, but yeah, it's the same. Always 3 lower.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's the bikini split.
It really is. It really is. Definitely. What's your favorite like lower body glute exercise? Your top 3 maybe.
Yeah. I'm really liking the hyperextension.
Okay.
And I am liking hip thrust, trying to push myself and go heavier in weight. And I love the feeling of the abduction. Yes. Whether it's like different types of machines, like the gluteator or the this or the that. And then also adding bands to my exercises to really engage and feel it. So I'll add a band to my squat or like my, or even sometimes to my abductions or to my hip thrust. Just, I feel like it really helps me connect.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. We're using them a lot for hip thrust, and it's crazy how much you actually have to bring the weight down when you do like a knee banded hip thrust. You're like, oh yeah, this hurts in a whole new place. I got to take the weight down for
totally.
Sure. Yeah.
Love that.
Now let's talk about one of the most important parts of getting on stage, which is diet, and the probably the aspect that most people, I would say, give up their journey because it gets way too difficult. It comes down to the nutrition. How has that been for you over the years with transitioning as like from athlete in sports where it's like fuel performance, right? You're doing all these things and it's not an aesthetically driven goal. And then you move into competing. How was that for you? Did you have any struggles there or challenges with the diet piece of things?
Totally. So when I came back and decided to start competing again as a 28-year-old, that's the only reason I looked for a coach, because I began by myself and I knew that I could eat more and do it better. So that's when I started doing my research and I found my coach on YouTube, and he was a game changer. Like best thing I could have done was find him and let him teach me about linear loading and diet breaks. And, you know, I already knew how to count my macros, but just the way that we do it and we take those breaks and we give those refeeds throughout the process has just been a game changer and has made it more sustainable for me. I competed like for a year and a half straight last year.
Yeah.
And when I'm in it, it's so easy to follow. It's just one foot in front of the other. I will say there is a little transition period of when you come off of your prep and you're getting back into it. Mentally, I would say it takes me a week or two to be like, okay, you know, and get back on track. But other than that, once I'm in it, we're good to go.
Yeah. How is it now versus when you started? Like your diet, like the process, is it very different than when you first started?
So when I first started, I was doing it by myself. And what I would do is, okay, it's a new week, slightly slower or lower your macros, increase your cardio, and then like so on and so forth. So there was no diet break. It was just like a line going down like that. Right. So now the process is a lot different. Probably every like 6 weeks or so, 6, 7, 8 weeks, there's a diet break in there. So cardio is lowered. My body gets to rest. Food is upped. And then oftentimes I'll lose weight in the middle of a diet break, which we're like, that's the money right there. Like that's what we want. So like giving your body a little rest and feeding it a little more fuel works in your favor.
Did that scare you at first? Because I know I do that with my athletes and they, they freak out, even if it's like a 1-day refeed and I'm like, okay, we're doing this. Or it's a diet break 11 weeks out because we've been prepping for 30 weeks or something, you know, and they're just like, oh my God, no, but I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm like, trust the process.
Totally. I think I just went into it. I'm the type of person where I follow your directions 100%. And if something is wrong, then it's on them. That way there's no guesswork. So if I were to like not feel good about it and then I was like lying and saying I was eating it, and then he's like, well, you're not losing weight, what are you doing wrong, like what's happening? And then everyone's confused. So if you just do what your coach says, and then if nothing works, then it's on them, right?
They assume their responsibility.
Yes. So that's what I went with.
That makes perfect sense. How is your so now transitioning out of prep, that's a lot of times a slippery slope for some people because they have the structure of prep. There's no show, on the horizon. How is that? How do you navigate that now coming out of a contest prep scenario and you're like, don't have a show for a while? Well, actually, when's your next show?
Good question. Okay. So I was actually just thinking about this today. So we're basically 12 and a half weeks post Olympia. Mm-hmm. And this is officially the longest improvement season I've taken with my coach.
Okay. Wow.
So, yes, 12 and a half weeks. So I'm so excited. We haven't even had an improvement season together. But to answer your question, we are sticking to our macros, slowly trying to work them up and just get them to a high place while staying like within a reasonable range of like my stage weight. So for me, I'm about 5'6". My stage weight was 126. So I want to stay at about like 140 pounds or less, ideally, and just keep it in that range. And then to answer your other question, like when am I competing again? So there's no more points anymore to get to Olympia.
I saw that. That's exciting.
It's exciting.
Yes.
It's good. So now I have to be undeniably good enough to win a show. Mm-hmm. So that means I have to build out my frame. I need to hold up next to those girls who are nice and full and have that upper outer glute, beautiful X frame. So I am going to continue to be in improvements until we think I've built enough to be a first place competitor. Because that's the only way I'll get to go to Olympia again,
So are they, for the Olympia now, is it just specific pro shows that are won? Is that what my understanding was?
Good question. It's all of the pro shows that are listed. That being said, they have cut back a lot of pro shows. For example, Sacramento used to have like 4 bikini pro shows, and now they only have 2 this year. Yeah. So there are a lot of different shows around the states that are no longer like pro bikini, pro this, pro that. On top of that, the qualifying period was only, I think, 10 months instead of 14, which it was last year. So that's going to knock off a handful of girls.
For sure. So are you anticipating competing this year?
If I do compete this year, it would be at the very end of the year. And it would be to just not like a last ditch effort, but just to be like, I want to give myself the most maximum time to grow. Yeah. It would just kind of be like I put in all the work this entire year. Let's see if I make it.
Right.
But other than that, I don't have plans to come in the summer and just like go for Olympia and try to I did 14 pro shows last year.
Insane.
I'm not going to do that this year. I'm going to come pick, a few shows. And if I win, I get to go. If I don't, then that means I have to improve again.
How did you balance that 14 shows with your career, and was school still involved in that process too when you were competing last year?
Right. So when I did my spring season, I was juggling my master's program and work, and I would just have to use like vacation sick days for those Friday. I would do a red eye on Thursday night, and I would take off on Friday, do my check-ins when I arrived Friday morning, sleep for a couple hours, and then do my show on Saturday.
That's incredible.
And then in the fall season, we, I again have to use sick days or, stuff like that. But at my current job, they're very understanding. They support me fully. They know I'm a bodybuilder. It's not a non-issue. So it's great.
Did your body respond okay to all that travel? I know some people, for me, traveling to different shows to compete was always like, I got to leave 2 days early because I'd get off the plane. I'd be swollen and bloated, and, digestion was off. So it was always a challenge. Did you have to deal with any of that, or did you guys have it down to a science for all those shows?
Thursday night, arrived Friday morning, and I immediately would check in and go to sleep for like 4 or 5 hours. And then I would like start getting ready for the day and work. I would do a workout on Friday, and then I would go to check-ins that night. I feel like it was fine. Like I got to exercise, I got my rest and all those good things. The only time I had a mishap was the very first show of the year. I got food poisoning the week of that show. And so it just wasn't the best look. But other than that, I was okay.
Yeah. That's never fun. And how do you, I had that happen
Yes.
at nationals, but my food had gone bad because I did a show in Texas and then qualified and then immediately was at nationals and I had all my food with me and it went bad and I was a hot mess and I was sick. So traveling, how is that in prep for you when you are doing shows and taking your food? Do you have this all dialed in too? I'm assuming for all the travel you have to.
Totally. And I will say, because of the number of shows I did it as cheaply as possible. So I flew Spirit almost every time.
Yeah.
And I took one personal item, my giant backpack, and I had my meals frozen. And I'll give you a hack for Spirit. If you bring a grocery sack and you say it's your food bag, they just assume like, oh, it's food you might have bought at the airport.
Right.
And you're allowed that. So I would always carry my frozen food in a grocery sack. And then all of my stage suit, my heels, my makeup, everything I needed was in my backpack. Okay. And I flew Spirit every time and we made it work.
That's amazing. So you didn't even have to get super fancy and like check a bag or any of that.
We never checked a bag.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So traveling tends to be one of the most scary things for people because they're worried about the food and you just have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. So you're prepping ahead of time and doing all that before you take off. So you're not left to have to eat whatever's around.
Totally. There are, depending on what you're eating leading up to show and like what digests well with you, we might grab a couple of things at the store, like rice cakes or whatnot, but having our proteins done and, your carbs, say if you're eating sweet potatoes, rice, whatever. But, rice packets are easy. If that's what you're eating before the show, go to the grocery store when you get there and get your rice packets. Like, depending what you're eating, you may be able to buy a lot of it, but the protein sources are probably the number one thing you don't want to have to deal with,
Exactly. And speaking of just the whole topic of being budget friendly, because like I tell my clients, bodybuilding is an expensive hobby.
For sure.
It's a challenge to budget and, juggle all that because it is, again, it's definitely an expensive, fun thing, but it is expensive. Are there any like specific resources? Do you have like maybe sponsors or people that are like helping you in the process? Anybody that you're working with that has essentially helped in this process for you?
I would say like if you're trying to, save money here and there, definitely prepping your own food is probably going to help you. I love to shop at, I don't know if everybody has this store, but the grocery outlet, I call it the Rainbow Store. So it's, a more discounted grocery store than the other one. So saving money in that way. If you can, some people like to do their own tan. I use Pro Tan. I've done my own tan so many times now, probably about half the time. And,
your tan always looks great.
Oh, thank you.
Not to interrupt, but are you doing like the, you use the little glove and the lotion or the gel and that's it. You don't use any other tan.
So when I do Pro Tan, I'll just use their kit and it'll be like the competition color and you'll do that about 2 or 3 days out. And then you'll add the super dark color mixed with the competition color. And then you'll do that. And I'm a pretty pale person. So by the time I'm done, I have anywhere from like 4 to 5 coats of tan using that mitt on myself. And then it comes with or they have the competition mousse as well. I don't actually use that. I decided I didn't personally like that. So I just basically have 4 to 5 coats of tan on me to make it work.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're a great color. So I am almost always wearing Pro Tan. And then what I did in the beginning is I got really good at learning to watch YouTube videos on how to do my makeup.
Okay.
That will help you if you can do your own makeup. And then as far as hair goes, I just wear a lot of clip-in extensions. I do have, hand-tied ones too, but for more length and volume and V-taper in the back of your hair, learning to do that, I do my own hair now. It always
looks great. Yeah. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you did your own well, essentially all of it, your tan, your makeup,
Right.
and your hair, which is a huge savings. Huge.
If hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
If the one makeup girl I am obsessed with though is V, the makeup artist.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So if she's at the show, she's my girl. So
Yeah.
I do love V. But even if you just get your makeup done one time and then you learn how they did that and you study it and you try to replicate it, that will be so helpful for you if you're doing a whole bunch of shows.
For sure.
Yeah, those are just a few tips. And then I do work with Angel Competition Bikinis for my suit. They are my sponsor. So they're always running sales or they always have discount codes. And I do work with the Shoe Fairy and same with them. They have their codes and sales and stuff like that. So also borrowing, if it's your first show,
right.
Ask a friend, rent a suit, borrow, to make sure you really want to get into it because it's a commitment.
Definitely. And from what I've seen, you tend to always wear a red colored suit, right? And it's stunning. It's amazing. And you pull it off really well, the tan, the whole thing. But one of my favorite things about you as a competitor is your posing. And,
really?
Clearly the physique and all that is phenomenal, but the posing is always beautiful. It's always confident, seamless, poised. And I'm like, you just do this little twirly thing. I think you know what I'm talking about when you go from front to back with your feet. And I'm like, I want to master that.
Oh, wait, now I need to go back and watch. I don't know.
Yeah. When you twist and you turn, you do a little
Okay.
spin and you it's almost like a pirouette. But it's right before you set your feet into your rear pose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like a little pivot turn. Anyways, nonetheless,
watch it.
yeah, great posing. Did you?
Thank
You just taught yourself from amateur to also professional?
Right. So after I first joined my team, I had one posing session with Raja, top 4 Olympian.
Yes.
So she's on my team as well. So I had a posing session with her. And I just took those critiques and went into my junior national show junior national show and tried to implement those. And honestly, I got better because I did so many shows back to back to back to back. I never let up. I was always having to practice my posing because I was always going into another show. And so I don't have a posing coach. And I only worked with Raja that one time and just practicing trial and error, trying a new pose, trying it out on the stage, deciding I wanted to cut back, deciding I don't want to walk to the back anymore. I'm going to leave a little more mystery. And I want them to think, that looked perfect. I want to call her back now so that I can get a second look, stuff like that. So lots of practice and trial and error.
Yeah, it's great. You've done a great job. Do you actually work with posing clients too as well now?
That is a goal of mine because in my personal opinion, the hardest part about this whole thing is posing.
Yes.
Because it's uncomfortable. It's hard. It doesn't feel good. You have to make it look like you're having the best time of your life. You have to know your angles, your body, your structure. You have to know when someone's standing in front of you that you need to move forward to. It's just a whole thing. So I would love to get into becoming a posing coach because I do find it fun. And I think I have an eye for it.
Yeah.
So I'm not yet, but I want to.
I'm like, reach out to her, guys. Let's get her started.
No, totally. 100%. Like hit me up, get in my DMs and it'll help me pull the trigger. I've been talking with Raja because she is a posing coach and she's like, oh yeah, I'll let you know like how I do it, how I book, how I this and that. So being a teacher, I think this summer is going to be my go time.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Like how I'm planning it for you. Perfect. You're going to have the summer off.
Yes. So basically that's the goal.
Yeah. I love that. Now your husband competes too, right?
Yes.
How is that for you? Like competing together, is it better if you guys are both in prep? Do you find it's better that you aren't? How does that work? Because I hear conflicting opinions from different couples.
Yeah. So when we were younger, we competed at the exact same time and did shows at the exact same time. Coming back this time as like 28 and 30-year-olds, we actually never overlapped our preps. So I was in prep. He supported me. He he was in prep, but not competing, not doing shows at the exact same time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So on show day, he's my guy. He's carrying my bags. He's hyping me up.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, I was doing the same for him, supporting him, doing his tan for him and being his cheerleader. And then in the fall, it was back on me and he was cheering for me. So we kind of did a little back and forth. But we love the lifestyle. Even those 6 years that we didn't compete, we meal prepped, we ate ground turkey. Like we are creatures of habit. We love it. So it's a non-issue for us.
That's good. I know some couples struggle when one is in prep and the other one isn't.
Gotcha.
On the food side of things, because they'll want to bring fun things in the house, and then the other one's prepping, and then that's a source of contention. Totally. So do you feel like it's just a matter of respect and communication at that point?
Yeah, in support. Like sometimes I would say, Eric, I need you to help me get up and tell me to go do my cardio. And he'll be like, okay, baby, it's time for you to get up and go do your cardio.
Yeah.
So he just understands it. Like he would help me on like, say I had a low energy day or something like that. And he is just so supportive. You need a supportive partner who just understands what you need. If I'm busy with my master's program in school and work, he would do the dishes. He would cook the meat. He would do the things. He would take care of the dogs. You just need the support.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
What for you is the hardest part of prep or your least favorite in prep? Is it cardio?
Okay. I would say when you get deep into the 2-a-day cardios, that is pretty tasking. Mentally and physically, you're dragging your feet, even just because I'm a PE teacher. So I'll have to carry my equipment like up a hill for one of my schools. I'm like dragging my feet and they feel so heavy. And that feeling though, but that is right before you're about to hit the stage. So I think, you still have the motivation somehow, some way to get there and do it. But yeah, those really tiring days are.
Did you have, so cardio for you, was it 2-a-days? Like, is that pretty standard for all 14 shows, or was it just that initial to get you lean and then you were kind of coasting at maintenance for a while? Because I'm assuming you weren't really out of a fat loss phase for very long in that duration.
Right.
You were like at maintenance, I'm sure.
The 2-a-days are part of our peaking protocol. So every time I had a peak week, I would have 2-a-days of walking steady state cardio on Saturday and Sunday. And then each day after that, cardio decreases and carbs go up. So that's kind of our peaking protocol. But when I came back in the fall, I had a couple session or weeks of like, I had to do that for 5 days in a row when I was really grinding and trying to make it on time for that show date. So my body was really feeling that.
Oh, for sure.
So every prep is different though. Like I said, I had a prep where I didn't do cardio for 2 weeks. Then I had a prep where I was grinding and doing 2-a-days 5 days in a row, so.
Yeah, definitely. It's different every prep for sure. Yeah. I can say that for myself and for my athletes even. Some of them I'm like getting them lean on just steps, and then the next prep it's like, an hour a day of stair mill or, whatever.
Right.
So it's very person specific, and, how long you've had off in between shows. I think people don't realize that, and they think the same recipe works every time. I'm like, it does not.
No,
yeah,
not at all.
Yeah.
So be grateful for those times where you're just doing steps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What is your, like recovery process like? Do you do a lot of recovery type stuff, body work and things like that when you're in prep?
Yeah. The thing I've done most recently, actually just barely pre-Olympia, I've started going to see a chiropractor for my imbalances and I was a weekly basis. Now I'm an every other week basis because I'm trying to just work on my structural imbalances. Everybody has them. And I just wanted to see if I can improve in that area. I'm kind of from a smaller town, so we don't have as many things as I would like to do. Like I'm really interested in dry needling and I
Yeah.
want to see like if that can help me with certain muscle activation, or I'm interested in more like muscle massages, but like for body work, deep tissue type stuff. But where I live, I feel like we don't really have access to those things.
Yeah. It's
But I
definitely
do
hard.
I think it's important, and I think there is value at the pro level, at the, at that level, to be taking care of your body.
For sure. It's good to be ahead of that and have preventative stuff set in place, because some people wait till like the check engine lights are all on and your body's
seriously.
screaming. I'm like, if you went in even once a month, it just, every other week would be great. But just to get ahead of that is always good, especially when you're in prep and you're drilling everything down, your food's low, all that fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Pro take care of it.
For sure. So what are your favorite like food hacks, if any? Like in prep, is there something that you're like, ooh, every day I look forward to this one thing because it works with my meal plan or whatever?
Yeah. Totally. I, again, am a creature of habit. So I love breakfast. I will make a big, yummy breakfast, more of like a sweet bowl every morning. And I eat the same thing every night for dinner. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm on frozen blueberries, cottage cheese, yogurt, granola, peanut butter.
That's and this all goes in a bowl.
Yeah, all in a bowl.
Sounds amazing.
Salt and cinnamon, actually, too.
Okay.
Don't forget the salt. That's what really...
it brings out the flavor. Yeah.
That's kiss right there.
Yeah. So did you say oats too or no?
Granola now.
Okay.
During prep, it was actually oatmeal, blueberries, all that stuff too. So I love my sweet in the morning and at night. And then my 3 meals in the middle of the day, they're all basically the same, like protein and carbs and my seasoning or my sauces or whatever it is. But things that I look forward to or that I think are prep friendly. I don't know if you've ever heard of Yasso.
Oh, those are good.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm obsessed with Yasso because it's basically like a Greek yogurt bar, but it has really great macros. It's basically protein and carbs. I think it's like pretty like 0 non-existent fat or really, really low fat.
Yeah.
So I love Yasso. I look forward to those. I love my fun little bubbly drinks. Always have one of those at night or look forward to that. Coffee during prep. If you're like, oh, I want to go on a date, but I don't know what I can do. Go find the coolest coffee shop in your town and like go on a coffee date, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, was there certain things that you and your husband would do in prep, or were you just kind of like, I'm tired, I've got no mental bandwidth, and you just, it's Netflix and chill?
Right. Basically during the week, same routine, but on the weekends, if we needed to get more steps, we would be like, oh, should we go on a hike with the dogs? We have really good hiking places here where we live. So we would try to be a little more adventurous, a little more outdoorsy. And then we would always go to a coffee shop and get, an Americano with blah, 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 like whatever in it, and just do fun stuff like that. Or, mostly coffee dates.
Yeah. That tends to be what I tell people too. It's just the easiest, less room for error and, accidentally eating stuff you're not supposed to be eating.
Totally. Or just, take your meal with you and then go sit outside at an outdoor restaurant and order a soda or a coffee or whatever and just get outdoors is really nice on the weekends.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're in prep or in off season, do you guys do like free meals, cheat meals, or is it just like high macro days or still meal plan?
We do basically counting our macros. That being said, we generally eat healthy, like I'd say 90-10, honestly, not 80-20, probably 90-10.
In the off season?
We eat our same normal foods like all the time. And then it'll be like the occasional, okay, we haven't even done a date night once a week. We said we would, but we, every other week kind of we're like, okay, let's go out on a date and stuff like that. But just sticking with those macros and still working to increase them slowly still.
Nice. Yeah. And that's nice because you have the autonomy to, sprinkle different things in there should you want to. And I usually tell competitors not to buy a bunch of stuff that they've been wanting to eat. Did you experience that ever?
I did when I was younger. We did that. We went to Winco in the middle of the night when we got back from a show one time, bought all kinds of stuff, and then you eat it all. You can't do that. It's almost better to go out and spend $20 on 1 cup of froyo than it is to go buy 4 gallons of ice cream.
Correct.
Because at least you're eating only a serving size when you go out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a challenge because right away, I mean, you get bloated and all these things. And then if you are, really trying to be mean to yourself and then get on the scale, that's a whole nother situation.
Yeah.
In your journey through this, did you ever have any struggles with that? Like post show, like body, kind of like body changes, body dysmorphia or eating issues? Did you have to deal with any of that?
I think when I was younger, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't. I have zero guilt being 14 pounds up from stage. Yeah. I'm happy. I'm thriving. I have energy. I have my period. I have my hormones. I got a booty. I'm so thriving right now.
Yeah.
I actually feel my least sexy stage lean. I
100% agree with you.
Oh my gosh. I just feel like a little bone, little bones walking around. Right. And I'm like, where's my booty? It's so tiny. Mm-hmm. So as a female, like I enjoy a little more fat on my body.
Right.
And I love it.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Mainly because I get a lot of that in Q&As on Instagram with girls that are like, oh, I just finished my show and I'm so disappointed. I'm not lean anymore. And I'm like, you're not supposed to be. That's for one day.
Right.
That's not normal. And I'm sure you can relate. Like it's super cool for what it is, right? This is the sport. Yeah. It's cool to see your body go through this metamorphosis. Mm-hmm. But much like yourself in the beginning, I was anchored to, oh my gosh, I don't look like that. And it totally messes with your mind.
Right.
And I'd say probably my last 5 shows, I was like, I'm so ready to have more meat on my bones and not look all sucked in the face. And
totally. I kind of just shift my mindset to when you're lean and you're skinny and you're, ready for show, you're like, yes, I'm killing this stage look. I am bringing the conditioning that I need. But now my mind is, I am going to murder this workout.
Yes.
I am going to lift the weight that I don't want to pick up. Right. And you need energy to do that.
Yeah.
You need carbohydrates, you need fuel, and to lift those heavy weights that you don't want to pick up. So that's kind of like how my mind has shifted. I want to grow so much that I don't even care what I look like, or I'm not worried that I don't have a 6-pack right now.
Right. I love hearing that because it just sounds like your shift goes from getting lean to now it is an external focus, right? It's getting strong and feeling good and not necessarily, you still clearly look phenomenal in the off season. It's just not a stage lean look. And it shouldn't be, right? In order for you to make the improvements, and that's what I try to drill home on the podcast, in order for you to make the improvements you need, you cannot be in that state all the time, and it's not realistic.
I think the hard thing would be when you get into that like 20 to 25% higher like weight on the scale. Do you know what I mean? Like keep it within reason, keep it within 10 to 12% of your body weight, like above stage weight or something like that. And I still have curves. Like I still have definition. There's like some lines for some abs, know?
Yeah.
I have like a little, shoulder line. So I can still see what I'm working on and I can be excited for that,
Yeah, definitely. The shift just changes a little bit,
Yes.
I love that. So, wrapping up here a little bit, looking ahead for Lawna, what do you see like your goals for bodybuilding? Like if you had a crystal ball, and you could just kind of envision what that looks like for you.
I love the sport and have loved it since I was 21. Last year I made my dream come true. So that was wild, like to have a dream and to go for it and just make it your reality. I was like, this is the best thing I could have ever done. So moving forward, I love to be a competitor and I will continue to be a competitor, but I do think I can see myself working into the industry more, whether that's becoming a posing coach or becoming a coach, for prep and contest and nutrition and everything like that. I think diving deeper into the world of bodybuilding is where I would be happy.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get to see you on stage again this year. That'll be fun. And if not, you have a well-deserved break.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you totally deserve it. I did think I had somebody ask something over on Instagram and I was like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, they asked how long of an off season will you take for the amount of shows you've done last year, which we did go over. And then why did she stop with the YouTube videos? We want her back.
Well, be honest. Okay. The truth with the YouTube is that I don't have a computer that processes these videos fast enough. I have a very old laptop. So my issue is I'm not a tech girly. I only film with my phone and I need a new laptop. So I have so many videos that I need to share with you all. Mm-hmm. I still have the Hawaii video. I still have the Olympia video. Yes. I have some like post Olympia videos. So slowly but surely, they will appear. I won't say right now that I'm going to be a regular once a week poster or anything like that. But again, that's going to be another summer goal for me. Mm-hmm. I want to like have like my own little desktop at home and stuff like that.
Yeah, so fun.
It's another goal of mine.
We'll eagerly await.
Yes. Yeah. I do love to put it out there because I know it helps so many people get through cardio and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does. Most definitely. Well, thank you for your time. This was great. It was great to get to know you a little bit better. Where can people find you on the internet? Where's the best place to follow you and all the things? Maybe, give us your YouTube handle, all that good stuff.
Right now on Instagram, you can find me at IFBB Pro _Lawna. It's LAWNA. And YouTube, if you just type in Lawna Dunbar, you should find me on YouTube.
Okay, great. So those two spots on social, I'll link everything up also in the show notes so people can get in contact with you. Okay. I'm sure you'll probably get some posing requests soon.
Yes, hit me up in my DMs. Show me why I need to start a posing portal.
Exactly. You guys, I wouldn't lie to you. She has phenomenal posing. Go check it out and put a bug in her ear to work with you for posing. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on, and we'll catch you over on the Instagram and continue following your journey.
Thank you.
Boss bitch. Thank you for listening to Boss Bitch Radio. It would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast. If you could give us a 5-star review on iTunes, drop us a little comment. We will read those, and we offer prizes as a ethical bribe for you to leave us some great mojo and words of affirmation. You know, that is my love language. And also, if you're over on Spotify, you can rate and review it there as well. All of this helps other women, other people, other folks see us, hear us, and learn from all of the amazing boss bitch tools and hacks, and hopefully get some LOLs. And if not, if anything, if you could share this with one person, I'd love you forever. And I know you are just here for my undying love. And last but not least, please, 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 please come find me over on Instagram so we can be buddies. We can be Insta fam over there. I am Diane Flores _IFBB _Pro. Come say hi, drop me a DM, let me know what you think of the podcast. I'm always open for new suggestions and feedback as well. And I hope you listen again soon.